Well, welcome everybody, and we are so excited about this series of webinars because they're attached to our bigger vision of the WOW project, which is the Web of Wellbeing. And if you haven't seen our website yet, just go to www.webofwellbeing.org, and you'll see all our information there of what we're up to and getting ready for our launch on October the 6th. Where we just want children and young people to share their understanding of the principles. And that's what we're wanting to see from around the world, is youth talking about these wonderful principles that we've come to learn and cherish so much in our own lives. And so to start us off on these series of webinars is John Countryman. So I'm just going to hand it over to Ivana to fill in all the details of what John's going to talk about today.
Okay, so the topic of this evening's webinar, or this morning's or this afternoon's webinar, depends where you are, is make room for the not yet known. And John's going to be talking about creativity is not so much something that we do as it is something we make room for. Heuristics are only useful when we have something original to work with. As this is now you're testing me, John, on the word on my pronunciation with this. Counterintuitive as it sounds, creativity is more likely to emerge when we bypass what we know and look instead to the not yet known and the insights available there. So it's going to be an interesting webinar and what John's going to talk about. So, but before he starts, maybe he can just have a little introduction about himself.
Yeah, happy to do so. And hi, everybody, and thanks for being here. And for those of you who are watching in the replay, welcome to you as well. I want to say something very quickly about Ivana and Quinn. These two are absolute dynamos. They've done such an incredible job of making this WOW project come into being. And there are a lot of people involved in it, but if we wanted to point to the real movers and shakers, these are the two of them right here. And they've done so much, and I'm very grateful to them for doing that. And so will the principals community, and so will the educational community for the good work that they're doing. I'll just say a couple of words about myself, no big thing. I am a former college professor. I taught theater for 38 years in academic theater. I've been a coach since 2012. I've been around the principals since 2013. My most recent adventure is I start a graduate program in gerontology about 2 weeks from now. And what I was telling folks before the recording began is that one aspect of the work that I'll be doing with later life adults is intergenerational, where we mix younger people with later life adults, and it's a fabulous kind of activity that benefits both populations. It's just terrific. So with that brief introduction, I think Ivana is going to actually be doing the mechanics of running this. This is a PowerPoint that I put together. Well, I didn't put the PowerPoint together, actually. Ivana did that for me. I put together the content and she packaged it for me because I discovered yesterday at some point that I didn't have PowerPoint on my laptop. So she volunteered to do that. So the name of my talk is Make Room for the Not Yet Known, subtitled Reflections on Creativity.
Can I just check in that everybody can see the PowerPoint? Wonderful.
It's brilliant where I am. It's fabulous. Thanks, Ivana. Okay, we can go ahead. And I'm pretty much going to run through it, Ivana. So if you want to just, when I finish one page, you can just move on to the next, okay? So first thing I want to say is I don't really have anything new to share with you today. This group particularly, you know all this already, so it's by way of reconnecting to some truths. And those truths are the principles, and we'll be talking about creativity and the principles for the most part. So this talk is about giving ourselves and our students permission to be comfortable with the unknown or the not yet known, or accepting that it's possible to be uncomfortable but doing it anyway. Sometimes that's the case. So creativity is a natural capacity, a resource that we all have. It's a feature of our inner health. It's our nature. Kids just are creative, and so are we. But we think we have to work to access it or to get it back. We think it's gone somewhere. Well, it's not lost, it's just been covered up. We think creativity is possible only until life becomes conditional, and then we think, well, I can only be creative when, if this or that is so, then I can be creative. We think our circumstances determine whether creativity is possible or not. But the lights are always there, even when they're covered up by the darkness of insecure or distracted thinking, or even just a misunderstanding about where our experience is coming from. But the sun is always there, even when it's cloudy. Now, Michael Neal has a thought experiment where he says, imagine you came into a ridiculous amount of money, so you're able to hire staff to do all the stuff you don't want to do, or believe you don't have the time to do. But because we still believe we need to do it all, we continue to do so, forgetting that we have staff. Well, mind is staff. The greater universal mind, that's our staff. That's the thing. We have staff available to us wherever we need them, not in our tiny mind, but in our greater mind, universal mind. We have the space and we have the time when we allow the mind to settle. Here's the thing. We think we need to help our students with their creativity. Heck, we sometimes think we need help with ours. It's the same misunderstanding as when we think we need to fix them, when they behave in a way we disapprove of. Same thing. They're not deficient, they're not broken, they're not bad. We can redirect their creative energy instead. Because they are being creative, it's just channeled in a way that we struggle with. That should sound familiar. So the questions for creative practice are, what are we capable of that we might not know? And what are we up against? We're up against busy minds, thought storms, and what I call hurry sickness. RPMs, we're zoom, 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 zooming. And the belief that there's so much to juggle, we need to multitask. This is what we consider normal. It may be normal, but it's not natural. We weren't always like this. We live in thought like a fish in water. We don't know or forget that we are the thinker. We're creating our experience, and we can allow what's needed to emerge, to unfold most of the time. In my performance classes, I would talk about the difference between an actor who tries to make his or her performance happen as opposed to those who allow it to emerge, allow it to happen. They're able to trust that it will happen naturally because, one, they're prepared, but so are those who try to make it happen. But they also trust to what we know is their wisdom, to intuition, to the capacity we have to respond to what's available from the greater mind, whether they know intellectually that's what they're doing or not. Most actors don't know that's what's going on. So know that we and our kids can take a mental vacation. We can all take a mental spa, just be there. I like the speed bump analogy, speed bumps, we have to slow down. Jamie Smart likes to call the work in the principles subtractive psychology. It's not a matter of doing anything more. It's not a matter of trying not to do something. It's just a matter of trusting that the universal mind will be there to support us. But often we use creativity against ourselves. Clearing our minds isn't a matter of doing anything. We could just drop thoughts when we're aware that that's all they are. We have the ability to become aware of our thinking, of how much is going on. And I added a little note, ever try to fall asleep? you have insomnia and you're trying really hard to get to sleep, it doesn't really work very well. Okay. We acquire the idea that there's a right way to solve a problem. We get frightened and surrender our power to the idea that only experts, or for the kids, only adults, or us as the teachers, their parents, etc., have the answers. There's also the issue of the assumption that there's a single answer for a problem, and in most problems that's not the case. Or you know, problems that can also be creative problems, not necessarily difficult problems. We've all had the experience of being in the zone, in flow. Kids experience it frequently in free play. I've done a lot of improv theater, and it's about showing up to what's available in the moment and working with it. Our level of calm, our quietened mind can help us be more available. Our presence and availability will tell the kids that they can relax too. This is another analogy. Imagine, I don't know if you know the sea anemone, but they have two ways of being. One is grasping for food with their tentacles. Annika Hurwitz gave me this idea. Grasping for food with their tentacles, or they can just simply allow the water with the nutrients in it to wash over the tentacles and they get dinner on command. So that's kind of what we're talking about with the letting go, the subtractive philosophy, the quiet mind, making the space available for new insights. The same holds true for creativity, and it's the same with kids. If they're grasping for knowledge, they get tight and anxious and think too much about the past, about the task. So anyway, this is a course. This is a cause of exhaustion, overwhelm, and even burnout. And we know that because we can get that way too, right? So this is something I came up with the other night. I think it's kind of good. Consider the analogy of bypass surgery. There are blockages, and bypass allows what's natural to flow freely again. Mental bypass is great. The blockages are the head full of anxious thinking, urgent thinking, gotta work to make it happen thinking. Bypass your head, that is your intellect, your personal mind, your conceptual mind, and make room for the not yet known. You and the kids have another mind, the universal mind that's always available. It's pure potential, pure possibility, full of the not yet known. But the space for what's there needs to become available. I love to watch another principles practitioner, Christine Heath, work with somebody, especially in a question and answer, or watch her coaching, because the client or the person attending a webinar or whatever it might be might ask a question, and Christine will just pause and she'll kind of look away, and she won't allow herself to be rushed, and she won't jump to the first thing that pops into her mind, things that are already there, things that are already known. She waits for that insight to come, for that fresh thought, for a new thought to come to her. So you've probably all seen this before, but you know, this is the snow globe metaphor. This happens to be the snow globe that Jamie Smart gave me during my training. You know, we don't need to do anything to clear up the snow globe. It'll just settle on its own. So if you think of the weather in the snow globe as an overwhelm of thought, a thought storm, if we leave it alone and we don't try to analyze it, we don't ruminate about it, we don't try to fix it, it'll settle on its own. And it's the way the mind is designed, the nature of it, not something we need to do. So creativity is a function of the mind. Everything we do is creative. We're creating our experience moment by moment. And it's possible to over-intellectualize this and start saying, well, there's everyday creativity and then there's grandiose creativity. But you know, we can't really beckon what kind of creativity is going to come to us, but we're more likely to have the Charlton Heston insights as opposed to the Homer Simpson insights if we have more space available to us. Our intellect can only deliver the already known. It's like the hard drive on our computer, but universal mind is where the not yet known resides. It's like the infinite capacity of the entire World Wide Web. That's it. Comments and questions and answer time. And Martin has joined us, I see. And Terry.
Thank you, John.
You bet.
I love that.
I think I was within the 20 minutes. I was.
It's our first one, and we wanted to keep them short and sweet. And I just loved how you talked about creativity and how I like that idea of what's been normal, but it's not been natural.
We begin to think that our normal is just how it is. And our normal really, I think, is learned and conditioned and all the rest of it. Our nature is to be open and receptive and available to what's in front of us and to be responsive to it and to be available to new, fresh ideas, insights, and all the rest of it. That's kind of what we're up to. I don't know, can people unmute themselves, Ivana, or what? What do you think?
I just did, I think.
Okay.
Did I?
Yeah, I think so.
Love that, John, especially in theater. It's so critical, like you're saying, like to let it emerge rather than forcing it. The same is true for a complicated math problem as well. That same process that you're talking about is so transferable to any part of our life. I haven't thought about it in relation to relationships at this very moment, but it probably applies there as well. This underlying idea of letting it happen. And I like to think of it like riding a bike. Once you get the hang of it, it's a natural, that becomes the natural thing, is to trust the wisdom. I loved how you said, trust the wisdom and respond to that greater mind. I get the sense it's always whispering to us, and it's up to us. Will our personal mind let it speak to us, or do we keep it at bay? So I love that.
Yeah, we were just on a call with the Cypress Initiative people talking about the elementary Spark curriculum, and that was one of the things they talked about, that they do an exercise where they break people up into, people who had troubles this week and people who had wonderful things happen for them. And with the people with troubles, they ask them what the trouble was, and the person describes the trouble, and then they ask, well, was there ever a time when you got embroiled in the trouble that there was this little voice that was saying, you're walking in the wrong direction? Yeah. And if so, did you listen to it? They went, yeah, that voice was there. And no, I didn't listen to it. It's a great exercise, I think. Yeah. Thanks, Krista. Yeah.
One of the things that just brought a story up for me around creativity and how important it is to have that quiet mind to allow it to occur, especially in a group of kids. I was in one classroom and they had just come in from recess, and they were more of an at-risk school, and there was a lot of noise, and I had set up the chairs in a circle, and a lot of them, they sat there as they're supposed to, quietly waiting. And then you had a group of kids that were not so much doing that. They're waiting for, I think, the teacher to yell at them to quiet down, because that's probably their normal. And I just sat there quietly, and it was so fascinating, because one of the boys that was chit-chatting with everybody else, we made eye contact, and he finally quieted down. And then he got upset that his buddies weren't quieting down. So he told them to quiet down. And so then we finally had a quiet room. And then we got to explore what that was like for everybody in that moment. You know, for those that were sitting there, I said, so you looked so calm on the outside. What was it like on the inside? And they weren't so calm on the inside. So, you know, that was never a planned lesson. It was just, you know, that's that creative element that you're talking about that just emerges in a moment.
Yeah, I love that, because, you know, what you have there, to use the cliche, is a teachable moment. And, you know, the noise on the outside is always manageable. It's the noise in your head that maybe and we think that we have to manage the noise in our head. We think we have to work on that. But I think that a lot of the time, if like you said, what you decided to do was just to get quiet yourself, to just settle, and it became part of the ecology of the room, became part of the culture of the moment, if you will, and it had ripples, because you were removing some of your own noise, right, from the equation, and I think that's wonderful. I like that example a lot.
Oh, I love what you just said, the culture of the moment. That's powerful. You know, because I think a lot of schools or a lot of places, we think of a culture. What's the culture of the place going to be? When it's really, it's the culture of the moment. Wow.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, because we're all connected. That's one of the things that the principles really brought home to me, is just how connected we all are. You know, your quiet was connected to their quiet and their noise. I mean, there was, you know, it's interesting that we're talking about this, because our metaphor for this group is a web. And I think originally the idea of the web had to do with connecting across schools and countries globally, and school systems and all that sort of thing. But if you take it on a smaller scale, in the classroom, you have a microcosm of that web of connectivity that exists everywhere. And sometimes we're conscious of the greater connectivity that we have to humanity as a whole. And sometimes we're really focused on what's happening in this instant collectively, not just individually. And yeah, I mean, one of the things that could happen in the classroom that might help contribute to that culture of the moment, or the ecology of the time and place, that, you know, this moment, is maybe to have planted the idea of our connectivity. I mean, I know it's not uncommon in classrooms to talk about the consequences that a person's behavior has on others, you know, and behavior being an outcome of thoughts and feelings and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, I'm just kind of brainstorming around your idea, because to be honest with you, the culture of the moment was a little insight that I had at that second. And so it's exactly what we're talking about. I never used that term before, right? So there you go.
That's really lovely, really lovely. What I really liked is your little story about the sea. And why do I choose the words I can't pronounce?
It's a hard word to say. It's anemone.
Anemone.
But it looks like it ought to be anemone.
Anemone. Yeah. No English teacher's going to be watching this. Sorry. But just the sort of kind of, you know, the way they can kind of survive by grasping for food, kind of trying with their tentacles to grasp the food. Or just sit there and let the water that kind of moves around them brings the nutrition that kind of they need. And I suppose kind of relating that to using our intellect to work something out really hard versus sort of getting a bit quieter and wait, not just for first, but the kind of the ideas to come to you when you're a bit more settled. I suppose, isn't it? With that kind of inspiration and innovation and kind of if you want to change something. So if you let your kind of habitual thinking that keeps coming up, come up, leave it, and see what comes up next, and so on. And kind of, I suppose that is that knowing that there is that greater pot of gold from which you can kind of pick the nutrition, or get nutrition from, almost, isn't it? That universal mind that you were talking about. It's it feels lovely, kind of the sense of that is very comforting to know that there is not just that you do not just rely on what you already know. In fact, the richness really comes from what you haven't come across almost yet, to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think it feeds on itself. It's like it's like anything else. If you trust that it'll be available, you're going to allow it to be available more often. And the more often you allow it to be available, the more often you'll probably be graced by insights, because you know that there's goodies there. There's good stuff, right? I made a video one time. It was kind of an oddball video, but I just decided to do it. And I said, it's so easy to jump on our habitual thinking, or the first thing that, we're a culture that is not comfortable with quiet and silence and emptiness. And as a teacher, I grew to believe that more emptiness and quiet was valuable in the classroom. So I made this video and I said, okay, I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm just going to let you know that, okay, I'm pushing, I'm recording this, and I'm not going to speak again until I have a fresh idea. And you would not believe how many things came into my head where I went, no, I already knew that. No, yeah, I use that all the time. No, yeah, that example is really stale. And it was probably about 3 minutes, and then I finally went, okay, now, and everything I had to say was, I had no idea when I started the recording that it would become what it would become. And it was almost like a poem, that was just emerging from me in the spoken word. It was really, really fascinating that it happened that way. But anyway, thought I'd throw that out there. The anemone, I love that. I'm like you, I love that anemone metaphor. I saw another thing that's sort of similar. There are whales off the west coast of Ireland, and I spent a lot of time in Ireland. And I guess over time, they've sort of figured out how to do this, but they with their spout, they create little whirlpools in the water in a spiral formation. And it attracts all the fish. And then they just show up and they open that huge jaw of theirs and they get all the fish at once. They're not chasing the fish all over heck and gone, They let them get attracted by something, a set of conditions that they've created. Now there's a metaphor, right? Can you set up a radiating whirlpool that will draw in all this wonderful stuff, and then you just work it, you make it what you will of it. I love that. They actually had a video of it, of the whale doing this. It was amazing. Cheryl, Martin, anything you want to ask or any comment you want to make?
Well, I was going to say I really love the anatomy one as well. When you were speaking, Quinn, such a John talked about the whale. I could see that at work with your rather grasping to get the class settled. You waited for things to flow by, and then caught the kid's eye, and then that was like the whirlpool. And bit by bit, it took form. That was really good. It's not the kids when we give them a math problem to or something like that. They start to grasp into Scrabble and getting the caught up in the difficult thinking, rather than just waiting and letting it all settle.
And isn't it interesting, Martin, that those examples are from nature, and nature knows what to do. Nature is participating in this miracle of mind, and we don't trust it enough. We feel like we have to tame nature, or we have to, do something. We have to do end runs around nature or manage it in some way. But nature knows what to do.
Yeah, well, it's like knowing we can float, isn't it? We don't have to struggle and paddle and swim. We float if we let go.
Yeah. So. Thanks, Martin.
Thanks, John.
Cheryl, you want anything?
No, I'm just sitting here in a quiet space, just nothing's coming up, so I'm just letting it be. The creativity's, will come through when it's ready. But I've really enjoyed it. I found it interesting, and I hadn't heard the anemone analogy before, and I think that's it. It was very visual for me, and it just made perfect sense. And this nature, for me, mind is about Mother Nature. I've always spoken about it being Mother Nature, and I've always said that we're arrogant as a race, that we think that we can control nature, and we're creating all these situations, because I strongly believe that when we step too far out of line, she'll put us back in our place. It's like we think we're steering the ship and we're not.
Oh yeah, there was a television commercial on years and years ago. I don't know if any of you will remember it, but I do. And I can't even remember what the product was, but the tagline was, "It's not nice to fool Mother Nature." I think it was for butter or margarine, and they were saying, butter is natural, and I can't remember, but it was great. And there might have even been a visual of Mother Nature getting a little bit peeved. It was great.
Yeah, we're the ones that are being fooled if we think we're going to have any impact on Mother Nature. It's the other way around. And I'm seeing more and more in nature, and and with children. So nothing really to say.
Lovely, Cheryl. Really nice and peaceful and quiet space.
I just want to thank that matter, the interest group for education in Three Principles Global Community, for making this opportunity available for me to hold forth for a few minutes and share. And I hope that many people will get to see this on playback, and I hope you'll get involved in your own schools in whatever way where you bring the principles, because they can make such a profound difference. And kids get it right away. Adults make it more difficult than they need to be. Michael Neal has this wonderful phrase, which I really like. He says, "Why do we make it so hard to let it be easy?" Kids just let it be easy. They get the principle. You don't even have to say what the principles are. They get it. They are the principles. But anyway, I think that the schools are really the first place that we should be looking to build a future where there's a greater understanding about the human experience and how it all works, and how we can do a better job of living together peacefully on this planet, hopefully. So thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you, John. That was wonderful, and I just want to thank everybody else. I don't want to sort of let you all go. Is there anybody else want to just any last questions or anything that's on your mind that you want to sort of share before we kind of wrap up?
Hi, I'm just struck by, John mentioned it in his talk, and then other people have mentioned it too, that the level of calm that a teacher brings to the classroom, and how it spills over to the whole culture of the moment. I love that new expression as well. But also when students are put in situations of learning all day. And when a teacher is calm and the feeling is calm, the wonderful ability to take risks with your learning rather than the insecurity or fear that you'll be judged. So I think that's such an essential point, is that what we as teachers bring to the classroom, if we're bringing our own calm, that we're going to see all these wonderful results that John is talking about us getting along and making the world a better place. So thanks so much, John. I really appreciate you talking about the teacher's level of calm, because I think that's really at the heart of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. And if I may, I just mentioned the fact that Krista with Barb Ost has a video talking about the principals in the schools, and that's one of the things that in that video series they talk about the presence of the teacher and the quality of the experience that the teacher is having, and the level of peace and calm that they bring has a profound bearing on the conduct of the students. So I can recommend that. Remind me, Krista, what's that called if somebody wants to go find it?
It's the power of the 3 principles in schools. 3PGC, who you've given kudos to, and I will as well. They have it listed on their weekly email blast.
Yeah, it's great. It's one. In fact, as a tired adult watching it, I just kind of mellow out watching these. It's a great thing to watch. Thanks.
Krista, if it's possible for you to forward us a link, and I can put it in addition to this recording when we post it on our website.
Lovely.
Well, thank you very much, all. We're going to be wrapping up now. This is going to be available to watch through WOW website, webofwellbeing.org. So come and listen to it, hopefully. So thank you very much, all. I'm going to unmute you all and put you on speakers view. Let me see, are you all unmuted? Oh, no, you're not. How do I do that? Manage participants. I'm learning.
Got everybody but Martin, I think. Martin, you can.
Yeah, I'm great, wonderful. Well, wave. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.